I highly doubt the Grammys could have predicted the amount of controversy introducing a new category would have ended up causing. BTS deciding to very publicly boycott the entire award show was definitely a bigger blow than they want to admit. Their ratings have been going down, and so is the relevancy. But it's basically their own fault. How are you going to market yourself as the world's leading society in music only to exclude 90% of the world? And no, segregating music from artists born and raised in non English speaking countries from the main categories isn't being inclusive. It's trying to subdue the competition. People were bound to notice and become fed up, especially the artists themselves. BTS have been very vocal about how winning a Grammy has, or had been, something they've really wanted to achieve, but not enough so that they'd be willing to risk their dignity for it. This ended up causing a huge debate, forcing the Grammys CEO himself to respond. And let me just say, that was the most PR safe wording I've ever read. It was so predictable that someone else had almost perfectly predicted what he was going to say. And to summarize, he said he was sorry BTS wasn't going to submit this year, and that the category was meant to celebrate Asian culture and be more inclusive. He also reiterated that the other categories were fully open for every artist, including BTS, to submit their music. I've got a lot of issues about this statement. Like, first of all, the category wasn't even inclusive for all Asians, if we go by the guidelines of this category. One of them being the song can only qualify if it is in the native language. Basically saying if you're an Asian singer, if your song is in English, then you're not eligible. What about artists from Singapore, where one of the main languages spoken is English? Are they not going to be considered as Asian artists under Grammy guidelines? Or what about the numerous Japanese artists who sing in English? And let's not forget about how almost every K-pop group nowadays release English songs. What if a non-Asian person releases a song with half or all of the lyrics being in Korean or in Arabic? Because yes, the Middle East is a part of Asia. Does that mean they're eligible to win? Considering all those things, then, the category really isn't that inclusive or diverse and only brings more confusion. I don't think they thought this through at all. And I still think that this category was created with East and Southeast Asians in mind. And then another thing. The issue isn't that BTS can't submit to other categories. They know they can. The problem was, were they even going to get nominated, let alone win? When was the last time an Asian artist won Song of the Year, Artist of the Year, Album of the Year, or Record of the Year? Rose literally rebuilt her entire image to look more Western, bagged the collab with a Grammy darling, but she walked away empty-handed. Dynamite raised an entire country's economy with how viral it was, but it ended up losing to a song that barely anyone remembers. How can you look at that and tell me it's not rigged? BTS had the guts to speak up against this industry giant and stand up for the people they represent. They didn't submit and try to make themselves more appealing just to get an award that they really didn't need. Yes, it would have been nice to get the acclamation, but sometimes giving up is the bravest and most honorable thing you can do. Unlike what some people choose to believe, they didn't give it up because they thought they couldn't win. It's actually the opposite. If there was an Asian artist that had the highest chances of winning, it was definitely BTS, and I'm pretty sure they were aware of that too. It all comes down to integrity and dignity. BTS are in a position where they don't really need a Grammy. They've accomplished so much in their career all by themselves, and they don't need an award to show for it. Though that doesn't mean they don't want it. I'm sure they do. They just came to the realization that some things really aren't worth it. Now to go over other things I've seen people talk about online. There seems to be less than 5 people in the entire K-pop industry who've shown solidarity with BTS. It's not really that shocking. Most K-pop idols are going to avoid anything that's even remotely controversial, and for a good reason, that is, their fans. Remember how many idols got hate from their own fans because they did a challenge with BTS's songs? I'm pretty sure their managements don't want a repeat of that. But I do see some of them being either jealous or seeing this as an opportunity to snag a nomination. Most of them do see BTS as rivals, and a lot of K-pop fans are already celebrating seeing this as a win for their faves. I get that a lot of K-pop fans don't like BTS, but has the hate clouded your judgment that much that you're willing to suck up to a racist award show? This is just like the time K-pop stans were laughing at BTS for experiencing racism in the US, only for the same thing to happen to their own faves. Blinks, don't you remember how you guys called the Grammys racist a couple of months ago because Rose didn't win? But now that BTS are the ones fighting against that discrimination, your opinions have changed to the Grammys being an honorable award show? Trust me, the Grammys couldn't care less about other K-pop groups other than BTS. And that's only because they wanted to weaponize BTS's fandom to bring up the ratings and increase the views. Not to be mean, but there's barely any other group that can do that, especially without the use of ads. But I will say that BTS can afford to take this risk because they are BTS. Other K-pop groups don't have that much power and impact, let alone courage. And besides, I've seen people theorizing that the category will end up being discontinued, which I really hope it does. In fact, I wish they would discontinue all ethnic-based categories, because as the BTS members said, music should be heard and loved without being distinguished by region or language. But the chances of that happening are slim to none. Maybe they will get rid of the Asian-centric award, but not the others. But if it doesn't end up being discontinued and somebody does end up winning, I will feel bad for them because their win will always be overshadowed by conversation of how BTS decided to boycott. It really won't be a good look. And lastly, I've seen people, mostly Americans I believe, saying that the Grammys hadn't stated that it was globally inclusive, so people should stop expecting to be included. Now, I don't know what world you live in, but even if that was the case, then they should have created categories for European music, North American music, Canadian music, or even Australian music. But from what we've seen, the only artists that have been put in a separate box are those from Africa, Latin America, and now Asia. Looks like only people of color get segregated. It's really not that. Had to see the implications, you just have to use your brain cells for a sec. Another crazy claim I've seen is people claiming that Bruno Mars is an Asian man and he has 16 Grammys. Please, someone go to the Philippines and ask any person if they feel represented by Bruno Mars. Can the guy even speak Tagalog? I wouldn't be surprised if he's never stepped foot in the Philippines. But this does bring up a good conversation on how the industry only accepts Asians who are born and raised in America. Asians who are whitewashed enough that they fit into the standards, because apparently then you are eligible to win a Grammy Award.